after seeing the film, if you have any questions for Greg or myself.
And don't worry if you don't, because I have plenty.
There you go.
You know, Kurt and I worked together at Warren on films, on a lot of different films, and I know Kurt is an athlete himself, a former professional, ranking sailboat racer. This is a complete departure from a lot of what we had done together. So I was going to ask you, what made you want to make a documentary, a real story about something that a guy's going through?
Yeah, well, the Warren Miller films, Warren and my father actually grew up sailing the Avalon all my life, so this was a great place to come back to. But in all of our films, we always showed people with disabilities. And it was more to inspire able-bodied people to enjoy what we have and just be thankful. You know, Rick is a fantastic person. We've gotten very close friends. I wouldn't trade my worst day for his best. He's still paralyzed. He's still in severe pain. You know, and yet we changed his complete life in just 5 days. And the Warren Miller film did that for people. We motivated them to get outside and make sailing film, get out and enjoy your life. And this is a way for myself, after having success and doing things, to really try and make a difference. I look at, there's not really one organization that helps people with disabilities. There's, Susan G. Komen, breast cancer, unbelievable. You got Lance Armstrong. There are so many splintered organizations that I figured would be, a way for me to give back and entertain people and grow something.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Question?
Do you do a lot of screenings to veterans organizations?
Yeah, actually, we made this specifically in under the 40 minutes for a number of reasons. One is it makes a great one-hour TV show. I work with tech, having made films for so long, a lot of people are doing that. Technicolor has given us 50,000 DVDs to circulate amongst not only veterans and all the veteran areas, but also through hospitals, rehabilitation, through the nurse organizations. So it's very hard to get into hospitals due to liabilities and things. So we're in touch with a lot of the nursing organizations that, treat people every day. Doctors come in and see them for 10 minutes a day. Nurses deal with them. So it's really touched a lot of people to motivate people to change their life. And we continue to do this. We've got another story we're filming in D.C. this week of Jesse Murphy, who was a double amputee from Afghanistan. So it's kind of a whole ongoing piece, no matter what your disability is, to try and get you out and just become social.
Kurt's a dangerous guy to ask about distribution of a film like this, because it's sort of what he does well. And we're kind of on the early upslope of what we hope this movie's going to do. And it was an independent film. This is like the definition of, this really was not in our comfort zone. We were used to doing more commercial type projects, and for us to try to tell a real human story and make it authentic. Honestly, festivals like the Catalina Film Festival, who invited us here, this is a big piece of starting to build a buzz about something like this, and we hoped that this was maybe not the beginning of the movement, but revealing the movement that's kind of going out there.
I just wanted to introduce myself quick. My name is Becky. I'm the marketing director of the festival, and I was told that I could put together a disability blog. Every day I Google the word disability, trying to find different inspiring stories of people with different types of disabilities, because my whole life I was born with looking different already, like Tracy's situation. And I think a lot of people, especially someone like Rick, he is having trouble coming to terms with his disability, because when you're fully able-bodied, you have no idea of the possibility of having a disability ever, and you don't think that's in your cards or your future. And I think it's important for people to understand that it doesn't matter, and it actually makes you a stronger person. There are a lot of people I've met over the past year who have different disabilities and say, I feel like I'm a better person because of the different things that I've had to overcome. And I think it's important for us to get everyone to think like that and realize that even if someone looks different or they have a different type of disability, or it's a different ability, which I like to call it, it doesn't matter. In something like sports, where you can get back and do something that people think right away, I'm sure even when Rick became injured, is that I'm never going to be able to ski again.
Yeah.
And that's what people, they think in a limited way, when you really can do it just in a different way. And I just think this speaks to setting an amazing example for everyone, that it doesn't matter. If you want to do something, you can do it.
And Becky and I, thank you. We started talking when you invited us over. I think two things she said is, one is that you have an instant connection. Rick, once he started skiing again, he had a connection with every person that he knew before he was disabled and could actually go skiing with them. Number two is that, you know, in doing that, people, it breaks down boundaries. Rick is a very successful individual, and people see him that are disabled saying, well, if he can do it, he's 62, getting back to skiing. I mean, like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so, again, it motivates both sides. I think, you know, again, the perception of people with disabilities is something that we have to break down those barriers. And I know, you know, meeting back here or something like that, it's almost like they turn away and say, but they're just people like us. I mean, it's, you know, you're 1 second away from being disabled in regard to Rick's disability.
How did you choose the people that were going to be the cell?
I was lucky enough, the Warren Miller film, so all 4 characters, excluding Jim Martinson, were in the Warren Miller films before. So I could go back, actually, Tracy, when she was 8, I lived in Southern California, and we were filming up at Snow Summit for that piece with my father, where he was carrying her down. And so the next year, I took her to Winter Park in order to document her learning to ski. So that was 30 years ago. You know, Chris Waddell was 13-time Paralympian. Mike May set the world speed record. That was actual footage we shot of him setting the world record way back then. Jim, you know, when you look at people, it's always who you work with. And Jim motivated Chris. He invented the sit ski. He invented the wheelchair. You know, they used to be 80 pounds, the racing wheelchair. So he was kind of, he came back from Vietnam. None of this existed. People were going around in wheelchairs. You couldn't get to ski resorts. There was no such thing as a sit ski. You saw some of the early footage we had in toboggans from our early films. My dad was doing the company, so we chose him for that. Rick he turns out to be a friend of mine's brother. I was working for a world-renowned spine surgeon trying to do research on people with disabilities in LA, Dr. Bray at DISC, and got introduced to Rick and turned out to be a friend of mine's brother. And you know, he allowed us to document his story, he is very private, and this is the first time he's ever been on camera, much less talked about his disabilities. No, I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to look right. Like, no, I have no one in my family that's disabled. People ask why I do this, and I think it's just one of those things. You know, you get on a mission, and people said I couldn't do it. People thought that the film wouldn't be entertaining. The score for Trevor Raven basic scores all of Jerry Bruckheimer's films. He came on board. He was, you know, singer of Yes. He scored the entire film. We got the Foo Fighters were friends of mine from the past. They gave us My Hero. Never thought we'd get a beautiful day. It's just like this momentum keeps going, and so I have no family at all.
But thank you. Along the lines of your question there, this didn't really come out of nowhere. If you look at kind of the history, sometimes we get asked, you know, where did this idea come from to make this movie? And there's kind of 2 different answers. In the long term, you could look at 1949 when Kurt's dad pointed his camera at some blind people going up a rope tow at Sun Valley, and his buddies are tugging on his sleeve, going, "No, Warren, film me. I'm going to go. I'm the best skier on the mountain." And Warren had the sense to say, "No, this is where the story is." And I think when Kurt ran the Warren Miller Films Company, if anything, because I was actively involved in picking which archival footage was going to kind of tell the history of adaptive skiing and how it's evolved, I'm picking from all these movies, and you could really see every year, if not every year, every other year, there was a segment of a Warren Miller film, which is such eye-candy and adrenaline-fueled entertainment. To put a segment in there that shows people who do go about skiing a little bit differently was part of what made that movie special. So there is a family history of being a filmmaker who points cameras to wherever the really interesting human story is, and that certainly appealed to me when I first started working with Kurt 20 years ago, and all the way through the process of this.
Yeah, they are good. I think one interesting story, since I was a young kid, I wasn't involved with them, my dad had put a blind person, and we used to sell at the Santa Monica Civic 3,000 people. It was like a full concert. Has anybody seen the Warren Miller films? Yeah. All right, there we go. Santa Monica Civic, 3,000 people, and they're just screaming and yelling, and everybody's having a great party. And you ski out, and it's someone that's blind, all of a sudden you turn the camera black, and just the sound of skiing and going through that. I mean, the audience, it's sobering to think about it. So I know that early in my life, seeing things like that, when you can actually touch somebody and grab them, you're right. It's good stuff.
So where does the movement go from here?
Great question. continue to tell short stories, so we have some webisodes. We're actually working potentially with NBC on the Olympics to do a big ad campaign for Make a Hero. I just met with Patty. We're going to announce on July 27th, we're doing a film with Jean-Michel Cousteau and Bob Talbot, one of the best underwater cinematographers in the world, who did Free Willy. He's in dolphin whale films. We're going to do kind of a scuba, ocean, kayaking piece, 40 minutes that'll start production this summer. And then we have a series of films mainly to show people what's going on, what's coming next. You know, from kayaking to camping. I met with Brunswick in Chicago, you know, about bowling and billiards, because it's not just sports. Skiing's like extremely hard if you're able-bodied. I can't even think what it's like, you know, in Rig State and in one of the Siskis. So it's a lot of, you know, billiards and bowling and darts. You know, that's going to be very difficult for them to keep entertaining. But again, that's when you look at people coming back from the war, or they're, you know, depressed and trying to deal with depression and disabled. You know, it's just getting them out. And it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, go have a beer, you know, with some friends and become social to interact. So,
I think getting up and out. Kurt, it may have gone pretty quickly, but when he started making this movie, Kurt created an organization, makeahero.org, which is all about sharing the stories of what's possible, what's out there, and also raising funds for that. So a piece of this is a kind of non-profit charitable film from the very beginning. So kudos to Kurt for just taking a chance on this thing and winging it, saying I wanted to share this story. But if you like what you saw, there is that website out there as a way to share stories of other people. We're kind of almost using that as like a casting call, where if you know people with amazing stories, we'd love to hear them, but even better, just put them right up on that website and share them with the world. And we hope that we keep doing more films just like this, short films that can go straight to the web and get those stories out there real quick on a real low budget, potentially doing features at some point. We hope this is something that kind of keeps growing.
As a quick postscript, I recovered at a young age from a life-threatening illness, and I took skiing lessons as a way to sort of get back in touch with life. And I remember the first time I went out on the chairlift and I was looking down, you know, that first throat, you know, moment. And I stood there for like 10 minutes, it's frozen. And I was like, God, give me a sign, should I do this? Am I ready? And just at that moment, a skier with a disability, one leg, came whipping over the top of the hill, went right past me, took about 12 feet of air, and landed. And I said, thank you, that's the sign I needed.
yeah, no, it's very cool. It's great. We were actually, I mentioned, and again, I just feel like I keep lucking out on all the hard work that we've done. We're actually, the Olympic commercial I mentioned, we're hoping to do. We got Robert Redford's already agreed to do voiceover for a nonprofit, which he's never done. And we were approaching Morgan Freeman. I went to the premiere last night of this film, and I'm sitting, my wife's in the back. She allows me to do all this, so I have this in the back. But we were sitting there, and amazing film comes on. I'm talking with his agent in LA this week. It's about him narrating with Robert Redford on this commercial, and the opening scene is his son in the film pulling out a ramp so that Morgan Freeman, who's in a wheelchair, can go, you know, get around. And through the entire film, he's going around in a power chair. So again, I have a feeling we get Morgan Freeman to do the narration with Robert Redford for our commercials. So, same type thing. Someone gave me a sign. The fact we're playing in church, All right, any other questions? Cool. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the film festival. It's beautiful out there.
Thank
you.
you.
We didn't say that a key production assistant for the film and one of the voice talent who acted with Robert Redford in the studio is here with us, Megan, in the background there.